Would you kneel out of loyalty or out of fear? Throughout history, kings wore crowns of gold, but ruled with hearts of iron. They didn't ask for love, they demanded obedience, because love can fade, but fear lasts forever. Tonight, we uncover how fear became the strongest weapon of kings, the one that built empires and destroyed them too. The birth of fear. Every throne ever built stood on two pillars, power and paranoia. Kings trusted no one, not even their own blood. In medieval courts, whispers were deadlier than swords. What if one look, one word, one rumor could cost you your head? From the deserts of Persia to the castles of Europe, monarchs learned one rule: to rule long, rule with fear. Legend tells of an emperor who once asked his dying father, "Should I rule with love or fear?" The old man replied, "Love makes you a memory. Fear makes you a legend." That sentence echoed across centuries, shaping the rulebooks of tyrants and conquerors alike. Ivan the Terrible, the Tsar who trusted. No one in the frozen heart of 16th century Russia, a boy named Ivan watched his parents die. He saw betrayal in the eyes of those who promised loyalty. And so, when he became Tsar, he made a vow. "If fear ruled me once, I will rule through fear forever." He created the oprichniki, his secret army dressed in black. Executioners who carried dog heads to symbolize their duty, to sniff out betrayal and destroy it. They rode through Moscow like demons in the snow. Villages burned, nobles vanished, and the rivers ran red with the blood of the disobedient. No one dared speak against Ivan, not out of respect, but out of terror. Can a kingdom truly be loyal when every smile hides fear? And yet, under this reign of horror, Russia expanded. Its borders grew and its power multiplied. To the world, Ivan was a symbol of authority, but to his people, he was a shadow that haunted their dreams. The emperor who tried to rule forever across the mountains of China, another ruler embraced fear. Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of a united China, he dreamed of eternal control over his land, his people, and even death itself. He banned philosophy, burned books, and buried scholars alive. He feared knowledge. He feared memory, because knowledge gives people power, and power threatens kings. Qin built the Great Wall to keep enemies out, but it also kept his people in. He drank mercury, believing it would grant immortality. Instead, it killed him slowly. When he died, he ordered his army to follow him into the afterlife. And so, thousands of terracotta soldiers were buried beside him, ready to fight even in death. What kind of king fears death so much that he builds an army to protect him in the grave? His empire was built on fear, but it didn't survive him. Because when fear rules too long, rebellion becomes destiny. The Sun King's golden cage. Let's step into France, the glittering world of Louis XIV, the self-proclaimed Sun King. He was charming, elegant, and radiant, but behind the gold, he ruled through fear disguised as grace. He built Versailles, the most luxurious palace in the world, but it wasn't just a home. It was a trap. He forced all the nobles to live there, keeping them close so he could watch them. They danced in golden halls, bowed before him, and smiled through their terror, because one wrong move, one rumor, one whisper could end their family's future. Isn't it genius? A king who makes fear look like privilege. Louis never raised his voice. He never drew his sword. He ruled with eyes that saw everything. And so, France glittered under his control until it cracked from within. When the people finally rose, the palace that once shimmered with light became the symbol of arrogance and the beginning of revolution. The Sultan who walked among the fearful. In the mighty Ottoman Empire, Sultan Murad IV ruled like a phantom. He banned coffee, tobacco, and alcohol, but not because of morality. He feared gatherings, whispers, and plots. At night, he would disguise himself and walk through the streets of Istanbul. Anyone caught breaking his laws, he executed personally. What kind of king kills his people with his own hands, just to keep them silent? One night, he found a soldier secretly drinking wine. Murad didn't shout, he didn't warn, he simply drew his sword and ended the man's life. By dawn, the entire city was quiet. No taverns, no whispers, no laughter, only fear. But Murad learned the cruel truth of fear. When people stop talking, they also stop caring. When fear consumes the king. The English king, Henry VIII, ruled not just his nation, but his court, his wives, and his own conscience through fear. He executed friends, ministers, and even the women he once loved. Each time he grew suspicious, he demanded blood. How can a man rule a kingdom when he can't even rule his fears? Henry's palace became a theatre of death. The courtiers smiled while watching their rivals walk to the scaffold, and every head that fell made the others kneel lower. But in the end, even Henry was consumed by his own terror. A king surrounded not by loyalty, but ghosts. The empire of shadows. Fear spread like wildfire across continents. In Japan's samurai era, disobedience was punished by seppuku, ritual suicide. In the Aztec Empire, kings sacrificed thousands to keep the gods and the people afraid. In Africa's kingdoms, rulers used witchcraft and executions to maintain sacred authority. Every dynasty had its demons, and fear was their most loyal servant. What if the secret to every empire's power was its people's silence? But silence comes at a price. The more people fear their king, the less they trust their country. And when trust disappears, thrones crumble. The fall of fear. For centuries, fear worked until it didn't. In France, the people stormed the Bastille and ended centuries of royal tyranny. In Russia, the Tsar's empire collapsed in blood and chaos. In China, the dynasties built on terror fell one by one. Because fear can build walls, but never hearts. Every rebellion in history began the same way, not with weapons, but with courage. When the first person stopped being afraid, the kingdom began to fall. Fear may rule millions, but it takes only one brave soul to end it. The same people who once bowed down began to rise, and the kings who ruled with iron learned the ultimate truth. The louder you rule, the faster you fall. The psychology of fear. Why did it work for so long? Because fear rewires the mind. It replaces logic with obedience. It silences the voice that says no. Fear made peasants believe kings were divine. It made soldiers kill for orders they didn't believe in. It made subjects cheer for the very men who enslaved them. Fear isn't power. It's hypnosis. But history also shows, once fear fades, truth shines. And when truth shines, even the strongest crowns melt away. The king who chose compassion. Not all kings chose terror. Ashoka the Great once ruled through conquest until he saw the battlefield of Kalinga covered in corpses. He dropped his sword that day. He realized a terrifying truth, that fear doesn't make people loyal, it makes them hollow. He chose peace, kindness, and Buddhist principles instead of punishment. Even today, fear lingers in power. Modern rulers don't need swords. They use surveillance, propaganda, and control. They silence voices not with executioners, but with algorithms. The tools have changed, but fear still rules, just under new crowns. The final lesson. Kings rise, kings fall. Their palaces turn to dust. But the stories of those who ruled with compassion, those are the ones that live forever. And so, every time you read about empires, victories, or golden thrones, remember this question. Did they rule their people? Or did their fear rule them? If you love uncovering hidden truths, dark histories, and forgotten legends, then don't forget to subscribe. Hit that bell button and join us next time.